Good afternoon, everyone, or evening, wherever you are. This is Nanette Kennedy with Humanity's Team Power of Prayer Call. We're starting something new here with Zoom, so there might be a little confusion on how to get here, but we'll get this figured out before the next time. Anyway, I would like to tell you that Michelle is taking a little bit of a hiatus. And she's posted this on her own Facebook page that her cancer has returned. And so we're going to, for the foreseeable future, Reverend Robert Brzezinski is going to be our Reverend in Chief, and he will address prayers here in a little bit. First, I want to read a little bio. If my eyes will work, there we go. Reverend Robert Brzezinski holds a master's in consciousness studies and is a lifelong student of transformational leadership. His passion for the emerging inspirational age, coupled with a thorough study of integral theory, has led Robert to a unique crossroads of spirituality and social experience. Robert is also passionate about adult spiritual education and brings his teaching skills to the virtual classroom. He is a dynamic spiritual leader, passionate firebrand speaker and teacher, as well as a personal coach and spiritual business consultant that continually finds ways to share the science of mind and spirit in the paradigm-shifting ways. His passions include outdoor adventuring with his family, skiing, mountain biking, and he can be reached through his website at, excuse me, I've got my phone ringing, should have put it on mute. His website is www.spiritevolving.com, and you can reach him there. And I'm going to read the 5 steps to peace, and then I'm going to bring Robert in. Okay, 5 steps to peace. And this is from The New Revelations, A Conversation with God by Neil Donald Walsh. Peace will be attained when we as human beings permit ourselves to acknowledge that some of our old beliefs about God and about life are no longer working. Peace will be attained when we explore the possibility that there is something we do not understand about God and about life, the understanding of which could change everything. Peace will be attained when we announce that we are willing for new understandings of God and life to now be brought forth, understandings that could produce a new way of life on this planet. Peace will be attained when we courageously examine these new understandings, and if they align with our personal inner truth and knowing, enlarge our belief system to include them. Peace will be attained when we express our lives as a demonstration of our highest beliefs rather than a denial of them. 5 steps to peace. And now I'm going to bring in Reverend Robert and have him introduce himself a little bit more, and then he'll lead us in a meditation and we'll get to some prayer requests. Welcome, Reverend Robert.
Hello, hello. Thank you, Nanette. So good to be here with you, and Dee as well, who's busy working all the technical stuff in the background. Thank you for doing all that, Dee, and for anyone else that may be watching this at a later time who's listening in. Thank you so much for being here. I think the introduction said a mouthful about me. Ultimately, I live in Colorado, and prayer and the ability to pray with people is actually one of my all-time favorite things to do. So this isn't as much work as it is just getting out, and it's kind of a 1-hour break in my week and in my month to be with people and to share the power of affirmative prayer. So I'm really happy to be here. And enough about me. How about we get centered and get into a little bit of a meditation and get started. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
And so I invite anyone listening to this to just simply slip into the one. Slip into a place of coming to know God. Letting go of everything it's taken to be here this day. Letting go of any concerns or questions about how or when or why life happens, things show up. And for this time, just setting all that aside to find an inner place of stillness. That place of allowing. The space within that is open, ready to receive. The deep space of knowing God, knowing the one. I come to recognize all the amazing ways that God shows up in the world. I come this day to allow what wants to bubble up, to allow what wants to be known, and to allow what wants to be healed, to be healed. And so I invite you into just a brief moment of silence, a brief moment of stillness. Letting the body relax. Letting the body temple just relax. Letting the mind be at peace. And let your heart be joyous. And from the stillness, from the silence, up bubbles that deep, deep inner knowing that all is well. A deep recognition of the power of the words spoken in prayer. And a deep sense that every prayer requested here this day is to be answered this day. And that the truth reveals itself as everyone in any way involved with this time, this experience, whether live or remotely, listening now or in a year from now, the power of this word. And so I am breathing in that power, breathing in that essence. And I invite each one listening to breathe in that power and recognize from deep within the individual power of the spoken word to affirm and speak truth, to claim the truth. And so I am open to all that God wishes to reveal this day, through this time, through this experience. And most especially grateful to know God is present right now. Grateful to know God speaks through my voice. Grateful to know God speaks through the voice of all, of everyone. And so having set the tone for this call, having set the container for this experience, I invite you back into the moment. Bring your consciousness back into the body temple. Be aware of your surroundings, the room, the chair. And when you're ready, just simply open your eyes, remembering that all is well. When you're ready, be very gentle with yourself and let yourself come back into the room right now. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Robert, I was wondering, I'm going to bank a couple of ideas here. We have several written in requests, and I thought maybe we could start out with a healing prayer for Reverend Michelle, and
Yes.
then we can kind of go from there.
Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. And so I allow myself to move in again into that deep recognition of the one power, one presence, one infinite intelligence, one self-existent cause that is forever taking on form and then abandoning that form in order to take on new form. I know this one power, this one God, as the source and the supply of love and light and beauty, of truth and health and wealth and well-being, of abundance and prosperity, divine right action, divine order, divine perfect health, divine perfect wealth. I recognize God expressing as all this and so much more. In fact, as the totality of everything, known and unknown, the entire universe and beyond, a perfect expression of the one. And so I know this one, the one God, must be operating, expressing itself as my life perfectly, whole and complete, nothing missing, nothing absent. And as I know that truth of my life, I know that same truth of Reverend Michelle's life. That in this very moment, and in fact every moment, God is operating as her life, as her breath, as her heartbeat, as the blood circulating through her body, as the experiences and the expressions. God operating as the truth through and as this divine soul we know as Reverend Michelle. And so what I know is, I know at the very center of that beingness, there is a blueprint of divine health. And I know that blueprint is operating through and as Reverend Michelle's body temple right now. I claim that truth. I know it, and I claim for Reverend Michelle that same deep, deep knowing. In fact, I know that the hands of God operate as the hands of everyone. Every doctor, every orderly, any nurses, administrators, family, friends, colleagues, co-workers, any way that is in any way involved with Reverend Michelle's care and her return to wholeness, her return to that deep recognition, that deep expression, that perfect expression of that divine blueprint of health. The truth of her, the center, the seed of her expression in this world. And so I know that this entire thing we call life, all the people, all the medicines, all the herbs, and all the modalities, all the treatments, everything, all of it, the prayer, the meditation, the very vibration being created here, this moment, that all of this comes together in support of Reverend Michelle. All of this stuff, all these activities and experiences are acting in concert to allow Reverend Michelle to sing the song of her soul, to sing the song of her life and her soul as she journeys through consciousness. And again, I claim for Reverend Michelle that deep, deep knowing that all is well, that God's got this, that at the very center of this experience, there is God pulling her, calling her, cradling her, inspiring her to be the expression of God in form this day. And so again, I know there is this divine blueprint of health. I know that it's operating. I claim for Reverend Michelle the same deep, deep knowing. That knowing that right now, in this very moment, her body temple is just eliminating anything that no longer serves her experience. That her body temple is letting go of anything that hinders the expression of her perfection. Anything, any thought, any belief that isn't serving it, that's just cast out, because we both know that's not the mind of God. And I claim for Reverend Michelle the experience of affirming the mind of God as perfect health, working through and as her body temple, and releasing anything that's not necessary. Letting go of that which is not the truth of God. Perfect health, perfect body temple, perfect blueprint of experience. And in my own mind, I see Reverend Michelle vibrant, alive, expressive, and sharing her unique gifts, her unique self with the world. Awake and vibrant and alive. Loving and being the expression of God's love in the world. That is the truth I know this moment. And I am grateful in this moment to share that truth, to be the conduit through which God reminds each of this truth. And most especially grateful to know that God's got this. And so I let go of any questions about how or why or when. I get my bloated nothingness out of the divine circuits. I let God take care of it. It is God that has revealed this truth. And so I release this word into the law that must say yes, the law that is God's action and activity in the world, and I just let it be. I know God's got it. I let go and I release. I let God be God. And so it is.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Our next request is from Edwin, who asked for prayer for his wife. She's found herself in a difficult situation. Can we please lift her in prayer and thought, please?
Yes. So it is from that deep knowing of the interconnectedness of all life, the unity of all life. It is from that recognition that Edwin lives and expresses and breathes the breath of God, that he exists as part of this unity, and so does his wife. That each bring a unique set of gifts and skills and talents to this thing called life, to this grand planet Earth. And that each expresses in a magnificent way, a unique way, a divine way. I claim for Edwin a sense of knowing and a deep sense of recognizing that his wife is exactly in the place that's necessary. And yes, while the appearances may seem difficult or suffering or sorrowful, a deeper truth of God revealing itself is that God is revealing itself through this experience, as this experience his wife moves through. And so I claim for her a sense of peace. I claim for both a sense of peace, a deep sense of knowing, a calm sense of assurance that all is well. That everything's moving in concert to bring forth the highest vision for both of their lives, his life, her life. their life together. That this one thing called God is right now, even in the midst of what appears to be difficult, bringing forth the activities, the events, the people, the connections, the opportunities necessary for both Edwin and his wife to move forward in their lives, to take that next bold step in whatever it is that's calling them. For see, what I know is I know that the nature of God is not suffering, that it is not God's nature to create difficulties and suffering. The truth of God is a path of ease and grace, a path of smooth sailing, deep understanding. So there really truly can be no discord in the mind or the experience of God. And so I claim for Edwin, for his wife, that deep, deep knowing right now that there is no discord in their lives. There is just the absolute perfect order of God revealing itself as their lives, revealing itself in unique ways, so they may each express the blessing and be blessed in return. This is the truth as I know it. And so I'm grateful to share it, grateful to be the conduit through which God speaks these words and release this word into that mighty law that must say yes. For this word was even spoken, that God was on the job. So I can let go and know it is done. I release the word into the law and I declare, and so it is.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
And now we're going to go to Kirsten, who says, answered prayer. My mom's house may go on the market at some point in the near future to get the non-paying renters out. God has jumped on board with my plan. I'm affirming that this is so.
Mm. Ah. And so I feel that sense of celebration rising up within myself, celebrating with Kirsten, this great revelation that God is on her side, that God is on target with her plan. And see, what I know is I know that's the truth of life at all times for each and every one of us, that this power called God is forever collaborating on behalf of the dream, the desire, the truth within our own hearts. And so I recognize that as Kirsten and her mom go through this experience and moving the non-paying renters out, and that there's a divine collaboration that's happening to bring forth the perfect expression for this house, for Kirsten, for everyone involved, even for the non-paying renters. There's a perfect plan for them to move into a place where they may step into their own responsibility and their own truth. And yet here today, we celebrate Kirsten's truth. We celebrate her win. We celebrate this recognition that it was her word that set these events in motion, her word that compelled the power of God to move in this way, her belief, her thought that moved God into this expression where all is well, where everything's working out exactly as it must. And so I am grateful to know that God's on board with Kirsten's plan, because I now know that Kirsten's on board with God's plan. To use the power of affirmative prayer, to use the power of her word and set forth in motion that which she truly desires. That is the great celebration here. And so I am grateful to be in that celebration and to allow whatever wants to be, to be. I release this word into the law, and I know it is done. And so it is.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Babini requests prayer for this beautiful, loving lady named Conte and her family. She is fighting cancer and various side effects of the treatment.
Ah. So again, within myself, I activate the reminder of the one expressing itself as all life, and the one expressing itself as that divine blueprint of health that has twists and turns as we travel along it, and yet the eventual result is the same. I speak my word in this moment for Babini, that Babini may experience a sense of peace and a calm assurance, knowing that everything's happening exactly as it must. For Conte, for this beautiful, loving lady, that Conte may know this deep truth that is within her as well. I claim for Conte a deep sense of knowing that this thing called cancer has no real power over her, and that she may dissolve that experience from her body temple at any moment through the power of this word. I speak this word for Conte that and claim for her an experience of remembering herself vital and alive, remembering all the ways that her body temple moves, and the perfect health, the seed, the germination, that idea of perfect health that exists within her. And what I know is I know that this thing called cancer is not the truth of God. The truth of God is perfect health. The truth of God is perfect assimilation. The truth of God is perfect order within the body temple. And I claim that deep knowing for Babini and for Conte. That deep sense, that deep, calm sense that at the very center all is well. That everything's happening just as it must, that a divine plan reveals itself, that a divine ideal is revealing itself right here, right now. As Conte's experience, as her sense of healing, and for Babini's experience of supporting and serving and watching and witnessing all of this. I speak this word and I claim for all the deep knowing that God's hands are already operating as everyone in any way involved with Conte's care, with her recovery, with her return to wholeness, with her treatment, because it's all God. The prayer and the pill, the treatments and the consciousness. And so together, everyone listening to these words creates a ripple of vibration of truth. And each one that hears these words is acting as a beacon to vibrate and expand this reach and expand the power of this prayer. So what I know is I know at the center of it all, God's got it. So I am in this moment just grateful to know that. Grateful to see the perfect vision of health expressing through Conte's body and the perfect expression of peace happening for all. And so I release this word into the law, but I invite each one hearing these words to silently and inwardly and collectively affirm this truth with me. Know in your heart, God's got this. And so all is well. I release this prayer and I say, and so it is.
Thank you. Deborah is asking for prayers for her cousin and her family. They're having serious health problems. Healing, love, light, and comfort to help restore her faith. Thank you so much.
Yes. And so again, I speak the words of affirmation, this time for Deborah, for her cousin, for her cousin's family. That each may know that same peace, that same deep sense of assurance that everything's working just as it must. That there is a grand revelation happening in each right now, in her cousin, her family, and that what appears to be challenges in the health concerns and health problems are opportunities to see the divinity of God expressing itself. for an opportunity to sink deeper and deeper into the peace of God. And remembering there is this divine blueprint within the body temple, that the body temple is right now moving through whatever is necessary for the soul's evolution, for the soul to express itself. And so I speak the word for Deborah. I claim for Deborah the sense of deep peace and deep knowing that her cousin has got this, that her cousin's family and her cousin are absolutely cradled in the strong arms of spirit. That right now her cousin and her family are moving through whatever is necessary. And that in that there is an experience of restored faith. It is the faith first. To say, I know God's got this. I know God's on the job here, and I know God's got all of this handled. So I let go of any question about how this healing occurs. I let go of any concepts of exactly what must occur. And trust in the deep sense of knowing that God's got this, that this divine blueprint of health is already operating in everyone's life. And that all is made well, with love, with light, with truth. And I know this truth is the truth of God. So I get myself out of the way. I release this word into the law that must say yes. I release any question about how or why or when, and just affirm that God's got it. So I know it is true, as done. And I let it be. And so it is.
Our next request comes from Barbara, who says, hello, dear all. I humbly ask for prayers and love for my nephew, Justino, who's 10 years old and has been struggling with kidney failure. Let light and health come on his way and his family. Thank you so much.
And so here I allow the essence, the truth of Barbara's life, of Justino's life to fill me. Recognizing the center, the power of God operating through Justino's life right now. And I speak this word that Barbara may recognize that power of God moving through Justino's life right now. Through his kidneys, through his body temple, through all the aspects of his experience right now. A deep sense of recognizing God's got this. And that the experience of life includes these opportunities to grow and expand. And so I affirm that this is not a failure, but an expansion. Not a concern or a problem, but an opportunity. To place the truth, to remember the truth of God operating through the hands of the nurses and those that are caring for Justino, the doctors, the lab technicians, everyone anywhere involved in all this. There's this great collective, the hands and the heart and the eyes and the minds of God, moving together in collaboration to bring Justino to that perfect place of healing, that perfect place of a deep physical recognition of the truth of his body temple. And in that, I trust Barbara finds absolute peace. Peace and understanding, a deeper sense of faith and trust and knowing that God's got this. And so I am open to allowing God's great revelation to occur through Justino's body right now. I claim for him that same experience. I claim for Barbara that same sense of faith, of knowing that God's got it. And so it must be good. There is the good revealing here. God's revealing itself through Justino right now. That's the truth I know. I'm grateful to know it. Grateful to release it into the law that must say yes to it. And know it is done. I affirm God's got this. And so it is.
Thank you, Reverend Robert. This one comes from Claudia. She says, hello, everyone. Today, my uncle Eugenio passed away. Can you send healing prayers to support his journey into the light? Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. And so again, I join in an experience of celebrating the great life that Eugenio expressed while on this planet, and celebrating the great soul that Eugenio expresses as he moves into the next, into the great beyond, into that great realm beyond the limitations of planet Earth, beyond the limitations of the human body temple. See, what I know is, I know death is not an ending. Death of the body temple is a great opportunity to transform and transcend all the limitations, all the self-imposed limitations of belief and perception, and allow the soul to step into a greater experience, a greater expression, a greater opportunity to know the oneness of the whole life. That is my prayer for Eugenio this day. He has entered into the light and has entered even more deeply into the oneness of life. And that is a great celebration. A great opportunity to honor his life, to honor all the gifts that he gave, to honor all the unique skills and talents that he shared, but more importantly, to honor the journey of his soul into the great beyond, into that space between the cosmos, the place beyond knowing, the place of one. I'm just grateful to be able to share in this celebration and know that all is well. And so it is.
Thank you. Christina writes that she's praying for all that is currently going on our planet right now, and with the shooting of the people in Pennsylvania and others being mistreated around the world. And she just would like us to all join in prayer with you that we can get past this hump.
Yes. And so I enter into that deep place within, that place that recognizes the horrors of the human experience and still comes to know the one. That place that questions that human experience and yet still trusts, still knows deeply within that the one, God, has got all of this. And that while there are those that are tortured in their beliefs, that believe in the separation between God and man, I invite each one hearing these words to reaffirm within themselves the unity of God as man, as human, as everyone. Those whose lives are taken through violence, and those who perpetuate that violence. Come to recognize the one operating through each and every expression of life, and I come to recognize that some, and oh so very few, use that power ignorantly. And yet I know there are so many more that use the power of God's word, that use the power of prayer, that use the power of truth to bring forth more good into the world, to bring forth more good into this world. I know the vast majority of human consciousness is loving. The vast majority of human expression is love and light and beauty, because that's the truth of God. That's how God expresses. And yes, on occasion, a human mistakenly believes otherwise. But here this day, I speak this word for everyone that hears these words. For the ignorant could not hear this. And those that do hear this are awake or alive. I know those that hear this word are the agents of transformation that are here on this planet at this time to bring forth a great wave of peace, a great wave of understanding, a wave of love and light and beauty that washes across this entire planet, that rinses clean all the hatred, that rinses away all the fear, all the separation, all the suffering, and brings forth, ushers into the world a whole new paradigm of love and light and beauty and truth. And so I speak this word for each one that hears this word, each one that hears this prayer, that they may activate the truth within themselves, that they activate the power of prayer within to bring forth the highest and the best they have ever imagined. To be the conduit of change, the agents of transformation that bring forth a great and new light upon the world. That is the work. That is the work we are here to do. And so I know that work is being done. I know God's on the job, that in millions of hands, in every smile that I see, in every heartbeat, in all of those that are out here right now, making the world a better place. Moment by moment, all is well. I am grateful to know this truth, grateful to be the conduit through which God reminds each of this truth, but most especially grateful to know God's already got this. And so I let go. I release this word into the law and I let it be. And so it is.
Thank you. This is from Taylor, who says, I need prayers, please. I need to get my car fixed, and the mechanic told me it's going to be $720 to get it fixed. I don't have that kind of money. Please pray that God provides a way for me to get it fixed. I really need to be able to use my car. Thank you.
Yes. And I speak this word for Taylor. I speak the word that Taylor may remember deep within that there is no lack in the mind of God. That Taylor exists as an expression of God in this world, on this planet, at this time. And so knowing that there is no lack in the mind of God, then Taylor has direct and divine access to everything necessary to fulfill the great mission of their great mission on the planet at this time. And so I know that the funds necessary to fix Taylor's car are absolutely available, are right now showing up in the world. And that it is simply available to Taylor to claim, to say, yes, that is mine. Yes, I know that the money is there, that the money exists, that there is no lack in the mind of God, and that I allow the abundance of God's great gift to flow through my life as money. That's the truth for all. We each have that power to allow the great abundance of God's flow, the great abundance of God's financial flow to move and flow through and as each of our lives. And so I claim for Taylor an experience of that this day. An experience of seeing money, unexpected money flow into their life, and then affirming that truth to allow even more. To serve and to know that that flow, once activated, cannot be stopped. And so there is always money flowing into Taylor's life. This is the truth I know, because I know that there is always a way, because God's every way. God is always and every way. I'm grateful to affirm this truth, to claim this truth on Taylor's behalf. Most especially grateful to know God's got it, so I can let it be. And so it is.
Thank you. This request is from Magdalena, who says, Dear group, please may you place my brother Greg in your prayers, who's going through a difficult time in his marriage. His wife and he are having some troubles that take place in front of their little boy. And Greg is a man who carries God's light and is very loving and thoughtful. May angels protect him and his son Casper, and God bring him the strength and peace to go through this situation. And it goes on, but I think that gets to the gist of it.
Yeah. And so I speak this word first for Magdalena, that she may experience a sense of peace around this situation and a deep knowing that God's on the job, that God is operating through Greg, through Casper, through Greg's wife, through anyone else that may know of this or be supporting any of these family members. I claim for Magdalena the deep sense of knowing that God is on the job here, that God's doing its work here, that there is a great healing that is happening here, even in the midst of what may appear to be struggle or strife or abuse or bullying or aggression. That behind all of that humanness, there is the divinity of God operating, that God's operating to bring forth a great healing for all, for Greg, for Casper, for Greg's wife, for this relationship and where it's moving in the world. Because what I know is I know each of these divine souls brings forth a great gift. And that this experience of growing is necessary for Casper, necessary for Greg and his wife, necessary to experience the healing, not the suffering, not the abuse. Those are not the truth of God. The truth of God is that there is a great healing revealing itself here. There's a great truth coming into form. That each of these players is being served in one way or another to know the great mission, the great vision of their lives. And so I claim for Greg, for Casper, for Greg's wife, for Magdalena, a deep, deep knowing that God's on the job. That all of this is happening to bring forth a greater light, to allow each to express God's glory in a more magnificent and amazing way. And so I release this word, knowing God's on the job, knowing God's got it. I get myself out of the way, grateful to know God's got it. I let it be. And so it is.
Thank you. And I forgot to mention this in our opening, that we also like to hear good news from prayers being said. This is from Curie, and she says, "Thank you, everyone, for praying for Ron. He's doing a lot better."
Cool. I'll celebrate that one real quick, because here's what I do know. I know it is not me that does the work of healing. I know it is not just my word, but it is the word of the collective. It is the word of the one. And so Ron's healing, in part, is thanks to everyone, every expression of God that prayed a prayer of health for Ron or for anyone else. Because every prayer is a prayer for the one. And Ron expresses that one magnificently. I am so grateful to see the expression of health and to know that the power of prayer has operated as Ron's life, bringing him into that perfect expression of God, returning him to that perfect expression of wholeness. And that continues. We keep the prayers up. We always keep the prayers up. And so it is.
And Carrie, we thank you for bringing in the gratitude here.
Yes.
And now Marilyn says, "I'm asking for prayers and healing for Adriano, who has been battling dangerous health issues and is back in hospital."
Yes. And again today, knowing and affirming and activating a remembrance of the divine blueprint of God operating through all of life. At this time, I speak this word for Marilyn, and I claim for her a sense of knowing that even Adriana's trip to the hospital is not a bad thing. It's It's a good thing. It's God. That hospital time provides Adriana with a chance to be intimately connected to the hands of God through the nurses and the orderlies, through the doctors, through the medication, through the chaplains. And that this power of prayer that we share here today for Adriana is part of that experience, part of that treatment, part of that return, that journey back to wholeness, back to remembering the oneness and the majesty of life, to activating that divine blueprint. And so I speak this word today for Adriana, that it may experience a reactivation of that divine blueprint, may feel the vibration of God moving through every cell, every organ, every body part, to experience that wholeness once more. I know this is active. I know this prayer of wholeness, this prayer of healing is right now operating. And so I get myself out of the way and let God do the work. And so it is.
Okay, we have time for one more, and then I'm going to have you close it up with a short closing.
Okay.
This person says, I'm asking for prayers and support for all the lives lost in the 737 crash off of Indonesia and all those this tragedy touched.
Once more I am reminded of the oneness. Once more I am reminded of the unity of all life. And I know that in the final moments of the lives lost on that flight, in that accident, that in the final moments each was an expression of the divine, that each was united with God once more. I speak a word and claim for myself and for each that listen a sense of peace, knowing that there truly is nothing lost in the mind of God. There are no lives lost in the heart and in the mind and in the expression of God. And that each one opened that door and made that transformation, that transition into a greater yet to be, into the great beyond. And that each one was met by the love and the light of all time. For in some way, each allowed their lives to be given for some greater good, a good that perhaps is not seen in this moment, and yet a greater good that must reveal itself. Because what I know is, I know there is no lack, there is no debt, there is no deficit in the mind or the experience of God, and so there can be nothing lost. Only a new beginning gained, a new experience, a new expression, a new paradigm birthed. And so for everyone, for each one in any way involved in this experience, this tragedy, I claim a sense of peace. A sense of peace that passes all understanding, because at the deeper part there is an understanding that it must be God. That there is a divine experience revealing itself here this day, that there is an absolute masterpiece called life that is still right now taking form. I claim for each a sense of love and light, knowing that no soul is ever lost. And that while God may abandon a body temple at some time or another, that power, that truth, that spark of light takes on new form, takes on new shape, and is given the opportunity to express again. That's God being God. That's God being God all over again. I feel that peace and I let it be. Or let God be God. And so it is.
Thank you, Reverend Robert, and we're looking forward to the next one at the end of next month, the last Wednesday of the month. And I was just wondering, because we've got so little time left here, if you could just do like a 30-second closing.
Absolutely. Oh, here's what I know. God is good. God is great. And this one power I call God is operating as all life in great and glorious and magnificent ways. And so regardless of any concept, any perception, any way of seeing, I know the divine reveals itself through my life and as the lives of each and every one that hears these words, each and every one a part of this community, this great community called humanity's team. At the very center of it all, God's got this. And so I relax in a deep sense of assurance that all is well. And I let it be. I release the word into the law, and I know God's got it. And so it is.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dee, for doing the productive part of this, production part. And Reverend Robert, it's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
And we will be in touch next month, and I'll send out invitations, and I will post this recording in appropriate places, and we want you to know you are loved and appreciated.
Yes. Thanks for being here, everyone. Peace and blessings.
Bye-bye.